Behind the scenes in Foxborough, not every big signal shows up like a siren. Sometimes it shows up in clues. An aggressive draft trade tells you what kind of motor this defense is chasing. A star rumor on offense keeps feeling like a real decision point. A veteran pass rusher still sitting on the market could be a shortcut. And one nickel corner could change the entire shape of the secondary. Hit that like button because today we are reading the room like those doors are closed. The Patriots look like they are building a tougher defense and an offense that no longer has to survive on miracles. Now let's start with the first real signal because that late second-round trade did not feel random at all. The Patriots were sitting at pick 55, saw Gabe Jacas still on the board, and went up to get him. To me, that is the kind of behind-the-scenes detail that says a lot. When a franchise leaves its spot, pays the price to climb, and grabs a defender plenty of people thought would already be gone, it tells you the internal grade was much stronger than the outside conversation. On paper, Jacas arrives as depth behind Harold Landry III and maybe a long-term answer after K'Lavon Chaisson's departure. But the most interesting part is not only where he lands on the depth chart, it is the kind of person New England seems to believe in. Former Illinois defensive coordinator Aaron Henry spoke with ESPN's Mike Reese and put Jacas in a serious category when describing his drive. Henry compared his routine, his time in the building, and his hunger to work to J.J. Watt, who Henry played with at Wisconsin. And listen, nobody needs to take that as Jacas turning into J.J. Watt overnight. That comparison says less about a guaranteed destination and more about the competitive DNA. Henry talked about a wrestler's mentality, and that matches the tape perfectly. Jacas was a two-time state champion wrestler in high school, and you can see that background when he uses leverage, hands, and body control to get off blocks. He does not always play pretty. He plays heavy. He plays with controlled anger. He can lose a rep, but he does not look willing to lose the effort battle. That is exactly the kind of profile that can survive in Foxborough. The guy who walks in as a second-round pick but works like he is still fighting to prove he belongs wearing the badge. Coaches at Illinois said he worked like a walk-on. For a Patriots team trying to bring its defensive identity back, that is not just a nice line on a resume, that is a clue. Now Zach Kuhr still has work to do with him. Jacas needs another gear off the snap, cleaner details against the run, and a quicker adjustment to the speed of the NFL. There are plays where pure speed can beat him, but when the motor is real, the ceiling starts to look different. Technique can be tightened, power can be organized, a pressure plan can be taught. What you cannot fake is that daily obsession to get in the building, repeat the rep, adjust, come back, and strike again. And here's the behind-the-scenes read. New England did not move up just to grab a backup edge. It moved because it saw a piece that could become part of this defense's personality. Harold Landry brings presence. Draymond Jones helps change the front. Jacas brings youth, violence, and hunger. If that trio clicks, the Patriots stop living on flashes and start building a pressure rotation that looks like a serious football team. To me, this pick feels like an internal message. Nobody in that building is expecting the rookie to be perfect by September, but they are betting he will learn quickly because the work habit was already built in. And in Foxborough, that has always mattered. And that defensive motor makes the other side of the ball even more interesting, because there is one behind-the-scenes decision that still has a lot of people bothered. The Patriots lost Stephon Diggs, added Romeo Doubs, and still left the draft without taking a wide receiver. To some people, that looks like a hole. To me, it looks like calculated silence. And calculated silence in Foxborough almost always makes you look toward Elliott Wolf's phone. The read that keeps getting louder is simple and massive. New England may be saving ammunition for an A.J. Brown trade. Adam Schefter had already put that possibility on the radar last month, and on Monday, on the Pat McAfee show, he spoke about it like the path was still very much alive. According to him, Brown seems to know where his future is headed right now, and the issue would be the Patriots and Eagles getting together to finalize the trade. Schefter also said he still thinks it is on track, still thinks it is going to happen, and that it would likely involve a future first-round pick, possibly in 2028. That is not a small thing. A first-round pick, even one in the future, always stings. But here is where the behind-the-scenes read changes the weight of the whole conversation. If the Patriots believe Drake Maye is entering that stage where the young quarterback has already shown enough to deserve a contender-level structure around him, then you cannot keep shopping for offensive help like you are digging through the discount rack. At some point, the franchise has to choose an accelerator, and A.J. Brown would be exactly that. Not a nice little addition, not a camp body, a physical, dominant, experienced receiver who can beat coverage, demand respect, and change how a defense lines up before the snap. That is the kind of player who does not only boost his own numbers, he opens space for Romeo Doubs, helps the run game, gives tight ends more room, and most importantly gives Maye a grown man answer when the play gets tight. The date flashing on the screen is June 1, because Philadelphia's salary cap math could get easier after that point. And that is where the backstage part gets really interesting. Maybe the Eagles are holding the move for the right moment. Maybe New England is waiting without showing too much of its hand. The fact that they did not draft a wide receiver made this door even harder to ignore. I get why people look at the price and freeze. A 2028 first-round pick can become a heavy conversation if the plan does not hit. But if the Patriots are truly trying to push while Maye is still on a rookie contract, that is the advantage smart teams use. You pay for a star when the quarterback is not eating up the entire salary cap yet. And I'll tell you this, after everything this fan base has watched on offense over the last few years, you cannot treat a target this big like some kind of luxury. It may be expensive, it may take guts, it may touch the future. But if the internal message is compete now, Brown is the kind of move that turns a speech into a real threat. And if the Brown conversation shows a Patriots team trying to accelerate the offense, Joey Bosa shows something different. A defensive opportunity sitting right there, waiting for a team with vision before the market shuts the door. Bradley Walker of Pro Football Focus pointed to Seattle as a strong fit for Bosa. I look at that and think, why should New England let another contender organize a piece that could also solve a real problem in Foxborough? Bosa is still available. He spent last season in Buffalo. He is not at the physical peak of the player who used to terrorize tackles every single week, and he does not arrive with the promise of carrying an entire defense on his back. But that is exactly the kind of read that separates the headline from the real behind-the-scenes work. The Patriots do not need to sign Joey Bosa as a savior. They need to view him as premium insurance, pass rush rotation, and experience at a spot that still is not fully protected. Remember the picture. New England lost K'Lavon Chaisson, brought in Draymond Jones, drafted Gabe Jacas in the second round, and still has Harold Landry III returning as an important piece, but also entering his age 30 season after a 2025 impacted by injury. That is not desperation. That is a depth warning. In a season where the difference between getting back to the Super Bowl and dying on the road might be one extra pressure in the third quarter, you cannot just pray everybody stays healthy in December. Bosa had 5 sacks for the Bills last year, but the number that really jumps out is 5 forced fumbles. A sack ends a play. A forced fumble changes a game, steals a possession, flips the sideline, and sucks the air out of the opponent. And after watching the Patriots get out-sacked 6-1 in the Super Bowl against Seattle, nobody in Foxborough should treat quarterback pressure like a side issue. That game left a scar. No need to overcomplicate it. Protection and pass rush decided a lot. The fit makes sense because Bosa could come in on a short deal without blocking Jacas, without taking Landry's role, and without disrupting the build. He would give the rookie time to learn the pro rhythm, allow heavier packages on third down, and take a dangerous name off the shelf before Buffalo, Seattle, or any rival searching for the same thing grabs him. Reliable pressure for January. And yes, maybe New England would have to pay a little above its comfort zone, but contenders cannot live forever waiting for the perfect price. Sometimes the cost of not acting shows up when the opposing quarterback gets half a second more in the pocket and finds the route that ends your season. Bosa does not need to be the 2017 version of Bosa to help New England. If he is a violent situational piece, healthy enough to close games, and smart enough to attack tired tackles, he changes the rotation. Inside the decision rooms, this is the type of name that should not become some endless debate. You evaluate the body, the price, the role, and if the math works, you attack. Because the Patriots have already shown they want more bite up front. Jacas is the future being shaped. Bosa would be the present saying, the future does not have to wait alone. And after talking about pressure up front, the next behind-the-scenes question is obvious. What happens if the ball gets out fast? Because yes, a good pass rush helps the secondary. But in today's game, offensive coordinators do not just sit there and wait for the edge to arrive. They hunt the nickel. They attack the middle. They create traffic, motion, slot fades, option routes, rub routes, anything that forces communication and targets the vulnerable defender. That is why Kenny Moore II should be on the Patriots' radar. This is not one of those ideas that explodes the second you hear it. Moore does not have the shine of a star wide receiver, or the weight of a famous pass rusher, or the kind of transaction buzz that takes over the timeline. But if you understand defense from the inside out, you know nickel corner has become a survival job. That guy plays where everything happens way too fast. He has to cover small, quick receivers, tackle running backs in the flat, blitz without warning, recognize concepts, communicate, and survive all that traffic. Kenny Moore did that for years in Indianapolis. Respected, physical, smart, experienced, and used to playing inside without getting swallowed by the chaos. And for New England, that has immediate value because Christian Gonzalez solves a huge part of the board. Gonzalez is the CB1. He is the guy you want outside, facing elite receivers, taking away a strip of the field, and letting the defense breathe. But a modern defense cannot live off one dominant corner. If the middle is exposed, the offense will find it. That is where the fit comes in. Imagine Gonzalez keeping the outside cleaner, Kevin Byard organizing the deep part of the field, and Moore handling the nickel role as a trusted piece. That changes third down. It changes blitz packages. It changes how free you are to disguise coverage. Suddenly, the Patriots can be more aggressive without leaving an obvious hole for the quarterback to hit in 2 seconds. And this is the kind of move New England should always love when the operation is being run well. Specific, surgical, grown-up. It is not signing a name for vanity. It is looking at the AFC and admitting you are going to face quarterbacks who punish every poorly protected inch. If the defense wants to become uncomfortable again, strength on the edges is not enough. You need an answer in the slot, in open field tackles, in quick reads, in that dirty 3rd and 4 play. Moore would also allow Gonzalez to stay in the role where he hurts opponents the most. That is crucial. When a team does not have a trustworthy nickel, it starts moving too many pieces, improvising too much, and asking its best corner to put out fires everywhere. Then you weaken 2 positions while trying to fix one. With Moore, the structure gets cleaner. So here is the question for our fanbase war room. Would you rather see the Patriots spend heavy capital on another star, or attack this kind of smart piece like Kenny Moore II to seal the cracks that decide big games? Because behind the scenes, the move that changes a defense is not always the loudest one. Sometimes it is the one that removes the shortcut the opponent thought it had. At the end of the day, today's read is not about 4 random names. It is about a Patriots team trying to close doors before opponents find a way in. Jacas speaks to identity. Brown, if that path really keeps moving, speaks to ambition around Drake Maye. Bosa speaks to defensive urgency without panic. Kenny Moore II speaks to structural intelligence. That is how strong rosters are born. Not always with fireworks, but often with cold decisions in rooms the fans never enter, yet feel every Sunday. If you want to track every Foxborough signal with me, subscribe to the channel, because this behind-the-scenes story is nowhere close to over.